friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here for another This and That / garden update video rolled into one. I might do a couple more like these until we at least get into the real serious gardening time of the year. Not that things aren't serious now, but where there's a lot more going on and I can start shooting some more videos outside. It's raining today, so I'm not shooting videos outside today, but I will get some video clips, rain or shine. I do have some I'll be putting in when I talk about the garden stuff. But first, let's get the kitchen related stuff out of the way. Now, some of you might remember I bought these reusable bags of various sizes thinking I was buying silicone when I wasn't, which also explains why they're cheaper. So far, I'm still happy with them though, and they are reusable. I did freeze up some carrots and peppers in these and really like the way they're working out. I would still like to get some real silicone ones. Real silicone is a little more expensive, but these are still going to be a lot longer lasting than your average plastic Ziploc bag. The main thing I wanted to talk about was the carrots. How did the carrots turn out that I chopped up and froze? They turned out really good. I did make a stir fry with them, and I'll put a picture right here. I can't remember if I think I was using them in a stir fried rice. Chicken fried rice. So I did the peppers, the snow peas, and the carrots, all things that I froze up. The snow peas from my own garden, at least that's one thing that grows really good here, and turned out great. And that was without blanching the carrots, just cutting them up raw, putting them in the bag and freezing them, and just like I thought, they turned out great. Just as good as my snow peas, green beans, and other things like that I froze. So if you're interested in do I blanch anything, I did do a video on that, and basically speaking, no, I don't. I'll try to freeze everything at least once or dehydrate everything at least once without blanching first. If I don't like the results, then maybe next time I will blanch it or just find a different way to preserve it. Now the kimchi update. Now I did open one of the jars. I've been working through it and I love it. So you remember last week when I was talking, I was getting some kimchi going, and as you would probably have guessed, after a few days, the red from the red cabbage does start to overtake the color of everything in there, which is one of the reasons I don't normally do that, but sometimes I don't mind it, and at least the red from the cabbage is a pretty color. So in fact, I've done this before, you can dehydrate raw red cabbage, powder it up, and it makes a really great coloring for a food coloring, or even to add to a lip balm to add a little color to your lips if you like that color. So anyway, turned out really tasty. I like the different flavor that the red cabbage brings to the kimchi when I add it. Even though I don't use it that often for making kimchi, it does add a real nice flavor. So very pleased with my kimchi, and it just makes, to me, when I'm in that mood for saltier things, and chips are a weakness for me, I can eat kimchi and that takes away that craving for chips, and it's a very healthy snack to have. So there was a time where I was eating kimchi so much I was having it for breakfast. I mean, seriously, I love kimchi. This is back when I first was making it and doing it the old-fashioned, using the old-fashioned brine method. So anyway, if you're interested in how I make kimchi without a brine, I'll link to that video in the description box down below. Don't forget to click on either show more, which you'll find right down here below my channel name, or that little gray triangle that you'll find if you're on a smart device right over here. Okay, so a little update, quick update on the Juniper vinegar. It's been bubbling really great, and I've been stirring it, but I don't need to stir it every day because unlike certain other things, it doesn't really sit on the top and mold the way other things do. But I do periodically take the chopstick and just kind of push it in there just to make sure, and also to check on the activity, because I want this to turn out to be pretty strong. I have been adding a little bit of sugar every other day. I think I'm not going to add any more sugar at this point, and then just let it finish out its process. Now, I've made juniper vinegar, cedar vinegar. I've made all kinds of, those of you who've been following me forever know, vinegar out of just about anything I feel like making vinegar out of. Now, I wanted to talk mostly about the two new meads I got going. Now, the reason these are so dark, if you look back, this is an orange spice mead. Now, I'm going to show you a picture of an orange spice mead I made years ago, and you'll see the color is much lighter. And the reason for that is the honey being used in these two is a honey that I've had for a good number of years. Now, honey never spoils, but it will crystallize. Even raw honey can crystallize and turn dark over time. I think the exposure to oxygen is my assumption that can turn it so dark, because that bucket, it was a 40-pound bucket, and so, you know, it was sitting in that bucket for years because I'd quit making mead for a long time, and I don't go through honey that much unless I'm using it for mead making and a few other things like honey infused garlic, so on and so forth. But anyway, that's why you'll see the difference in color. What I'm trying to do is use up that big bucket. I've been restocking my honey, but now I'm just buying in 1-gallon buckets, which would be like, in honey it's measured by pounds. So I think it's about 12 pounds of honey in a 1-gallon bucket. So that's how I've been buying that, and some of it also in jars. You do get a better deal when you buy it in a bucket. But I think that's going to be better, since I don't go through it near as fast as I used to when I was making mead all the time. And I just really want to get through this bucket. So I've been making some mead and putting it back. And this one here is a raspberry. Here's a picture of a raspberry mead I made years ago. That one turned out dark in color because of the raspberries. And yet here's another raspberry mead I made. You can tell I didn't use near as much raspberries in it. They both turned out really good, but mead is one of those funny things that sometimes you can get it really clear, like a wine, and other times you just don't seem to get that same clarity. I don't know if it's the differences in honey or the other things used in it. Racking it is one of the ways that you clarify it, but some clarify a lot easier than others, a lot better than others. Anyway, so that's what's going on here. So those have been going for probably about a week now. Okay, so now let's move on to the garden related things. So one of the things I've been doing, the big thing is it's pouring down rain today, so I'm so glad that yesterday and the day before I really got busy in working on starting to do some cleanup and even some planting. So one of those things was doing some more work on that juniper that's out front at the corner, because I had let it go actually for almost 2 years, had not, just forgot about my shrubs out front, got busy with so many other things and just the actual gardening, that those things got way overgrown. I wish I would have taken a picture of the juniper before I started hacking on it so you could see what it looked like and how much bigger it was. But I'll put some pictures and some video clips here so you can see what I did. I like to leave the juniper, one, because I love juniper, I love making vinegar out of it and just having it there, but it also adds a measure of privacy, because remember, some of you who are new might not realize we're doing most of what we do, even though we have another piece of property up the road that's a shy acre. We're doing most everything as far as gardening and all that goes right here on our little shy 1/3 acre lot in the neighborhood. And so I try to work on getting things to look nice as well as giving us a certain amount of privacy. So having that juniper, leaving it there, gives us a little bit of privacy on our front deck and you know, from the neighbors, just a little bit, and people walking by. And so I was trying to prune it up in such a way where I could get more light coming in down onto the deck, because I'm going to try to do all strawberries all the way across that deck, and I'm making more pots of strawberries as well as the green stalk, which, by the way, the strawberries are just now starting to grow. I'm starting to see some new life even in the ones I transplanted from runners or dug out of some other pots to thin them out a bit and transplanted into the green stalk container. So you can see a little bit of growth on those. Very slow yet, because it's still not, you know, quite warm enough for them to really take off, but we're having some nice enough days that they are starting to grow. But anyway, I had a chunk of that juniper was growing really low down to the deck and coming in about this far, and I liked it there, but I realized how big it had gotten, so I just took that whole branch out, then went down underneath, because the juniper is too tall for me to keep up from the top anyway, and cut out everything from the inside so sun can come straight down and shine on that corner of the deck, as well as just adding more light all the way around and making it easier for me to keep up on that. So I'm only sharing this because some people might just find it interesting, but some people might go, hey, that's something I could do. If you've got a shrub that you know is not going to hurt your garden by leaving it there. Juniper can be harmful to some things because it can be very acidic, but the potatoes don't mind growing there. The comfrey doesn't mind growing around it. A lot of my herbs don't mind growing around it. The marshmallow, the sage, I have many things that grow around there that have no problem with the juniper. So it just really depends on what you're putting down there. You don't want to plant anything below your junipers or those kind of evergreens that do not like acidic soil, because they can create a pretty acidic environment. But potatoes love acidic soil. Pretty soon here, probably a couple more weeks, I'm going to block the chickens off from most of that front yard garden area and then be putting my potatoes in. So that'll be on March 31st or around there, which is also our wedding anniversary. It will be our 31st wedding anniversary on the 31st. But anyway, around there is when I plan on putting the potatoes in the ground. And the other thing I did was I finally got out there and pruned down my elderberries. Now I know those of you who know a lot about growing elderberries are going to tell me, you still didn't prune it down short enough. I know. Because every year when I'm doing something like that, I always get nervous taking things clear to the ground, because I did that one year with raspberries, because that's what I was told to do with those particular raspberries. They never came back. And I wished I would have never done that. And so each year when I'm pruning on something, I'll try cutting it back more, and then try cutting it back more, and then try cutting it back more the next year, and just watch it and go by experience that way, rather than just taking something clear down to the main stalk or clear down to the ground and then have what happened to my raspberries. So I wish, again, I would have taken a picture of these elderberries before I hacked them back. Now last year I hacked them back about 5 feet, maybe about this tall, or 5 or 4 feet. This time I hacked them down to 3 feet. So I know I could go down farther. So here's what they ended up looking like later in the year after I hacked them down to about 4 or 5 feet. And so you can at least see how tall they got. And when I went to prune them, I was looking up, and the branches and that roof, because I grow them up next to the house. This is where I wish I would have got a picture, is those branches, even though I'd cut everything way down, or I should say way down, because they were about this tall. Those branches, they grow fast. Elderberry grows like a weed. And I went to look at them, and they had actually been pushing up underneath the roof there, the overhang, the eaves. And because of our windstorm, some had broken. And that's how tall they got. So that made me brave enough, seeing how they exploded last year, to cut them down at least another foot. And then I'm going to watch them this year, and then probably take them down to 2 feet next year. We'll see. I just kind of play it by ear. But it's just like the grapevines. It seems like the more I hack them back, the more they explode the next year and get even bigger. And I'm still working on pruning those back. I like to kind of look at them for a little bit and then go out on another nice day, hack some more off of them, and then stand back, watch them for a few days, and then go hack some more. That's just the way I work. I don't just go crazy and hog wild and hack everything all at once. And then the other thing I did get done, and I was going to wait a little bit longer, but decided I better do it because we actually had some nice weather. So I cleaned up some of our polycarbonate. We have a pile of polycarbonate. We're actually going to buy more. And what I do with those is, I tried this last year and it was perfect. So I have that arched area that Patrick's going to try to get around to, making me a second one pretty much right next to it. A garden area. We're going to get rid of that fire pit and put in another garden area there. I hope it gets done this year. But even if not, I still use that other one. And I found planting the snow peas on that side closest to the chicken coop and getting them in now, and then putting that Lexan over there. That way, if the weather gets too cold all of a sudden, the Lexan will help insulate it. Snow peas don't mind cold, but it can still get too cold for peas, and especially with the weird weather changes we have and the weird freezes at weird times, that will just protect it, and it caused my snow peas to really take off. Plus, it allows me to let the chickens still roam in the rest of that specific garden area until I'm ready to plant squash, nasturtiums, whatever else I want to put in there. And then I block the whole area off to keep the chickens out of there, and then take the Lexan away from the snow peas. So that Lexan does two things. It protects the snow peas from the chickens digging them up, and also gives it a little bit of insulation. So after doing that last year, that's basically the same idea I want to try with my corn this year. And I did that with the beans last year, and it helped. But we did the Lexan on each side, or I keep saying Lexan, but polycarbonate. Lexan is a brand. And sandwiched it, but then it was too hard for me to get in there and pull up the weeds and stuff that were growing amongst the beans, which did crowd out some of my beans. It did give them a good head start, but then my beans got crowded out. So I plan to put the polycarbonate just on one side of the beans, just to give them a little bit of insulation, but also leave it open on the other side where I can easily get in there and keep the weeds, the the borage and those kind of things that I like to grow wild out there, but keep them from going crazy in that area and shading out my beans. And then a lot of my herbs are doing good. I can see the marshmallow and the valerian coming up, and if you're curious as to what those look like, I'm putting a couple pictures here. So both of those, when they're coming up out of the ground, it is normal for them to look a dark red, burgundy color as they first start to grow. That's totally normal. If you have at least second year marshmallow or valerian start coming back, that's what it should look like. And a lot of my other herbs, like I mentioned, or at least in text in my last video, my nettle is doing good. My rosemary, I just can't believe it's already started growing. My thyme is starting to grow in places, not all of it. Some of it's starting to take off, some of it is not. And what I'm finding, I'm really liking growing the thyme in the pots. And here's what I'm thinking of doing, is getting another green stalk, but getting the leaf one and using that for smaller herbs, like maybe even putting the thyme in the winter time, and during when we're having our heavy rains, I can keep it on the front deck, but roll it up so it's under the eaves and not getting as much rain. And then in the summertime where it's a little bit drier, I can roll that out next to the strawberries and allow it to get plenty of sun. One more thing I wanted to add is that I'll be doing a separate video on this topic again, but I want to mention it here because this is going to be coming out a lot sooner. And that is, I have had a BitChute account set up for at least a good year, and I did finally set up a Rumble account, and both of those, I haven't put anything up at the time I'm shooting this video. I've actually had a few different video platforms set up as backup for years, but now that I'm seeing some things happening, I decided to go ahead and get serious and set up a Rumble as well. But I will be shooting a video that will be going up just on those, mostly as kind of a test run, and also so people know where to find me in case for some odd reason I have to leave YouTube or get kicked off. I don't foresee that happening anytime soon, but you just never know what's going to happen because certain new laws keep getting made here on this platform that make it a lot harder to say certain things and talk about certain things, and I'm afraid that I may unwittingly say or do something that can possibly just get me completely shut down. Now, I'm not doing that. I'm just having those set up as a backup. So if anything ever happens and you can't find, and you see my channel's gone, you'll know where to find me. It's just going to be all one word, Rain Country Homestead, on both Rumble and on BitChute. I'll try to get those links down below, and just know that you may see nothing but a profile picture because at this time I have nothing up there. I don't know how soon I'll get something up there, hopefully not too far down the road, so that if something happens you'll know where to go. Since I'm no longer on Facebook, remember that. Don't try to contact me through Facebook just because my account is still open. I'll be talking about that in that video as well, why it's still open. But don't send me messages there because I'm not getting them. I don't even have any apps for Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, so I never get notifications on any of that stuff. If you need to contact us, do so through raincountryhomestead@gmail.com. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and that it gave you some helpful information there. Don't forget to check out the video links about mead making, kimchi, and so on that I'll be putting in the description box down below. All right, well, thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.